Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. We're into college football week 8, coming off a great college football Saturday. I haven't had many opportunities to say that this year. Feels great. Saturday was awesome. Loved Oregon, loved USC, loved it all. Hopefully that continues. In this video, we got some Tuesday night games. We got 3 of them. If you're new to college football, these midweek games are pretty crazy, these midweek group of 5 games. So please bet responsibly. We're going to go through all 3 here. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
First up, we're in the Sun Belt Conference. We got Troy on the road at South Alabama. USA laying 12 or 12.5 at home here, depending on your sports book. Total sitting at 56.5 across the board. Let's take a look at this matchup. We'll start with some head-to-head history. Been pretty one-sided here. Troy is actually 6-0 straight up and 6-0 against the spread in their last 6 matchups against South Alabama. So the Jags have not had much success playing this Trojans team, but if you've been following the Sun Belt Conference this year, you know that this particular game should be a little different. Troy is not in the best of shape, but let's match these 2 teams up on the field. We'll start with the Troy offense. Not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. They're actually 79th in OFEI and do have something that resembles a passing attack. Look at the bottom left of this graphic, 66 in yards per pass attempt, 38th in success rate per dropback. That's solid. 38th in success rate per dropback, rated 75th in effective pass. The problem Troy's had in terms of a passing attack this year is injuries to the quarterback position. In the games Goose Crowder played, Goose Crowder was supposed to be their starter this year. In the 2 games he played, they're averaging 248 passing yards per game, over 49%. Success rate per dropback, 9.25 yards per attempt. These are great numbers. Yes, one of these games was against an FCS program. The other one was against Nevada. Nevada has a decent defense out there, better than we thought it was going to be with Jeff Choate. So, I mean, when Goose Crowder's been in there, they look solid. Look at Goose Crowder's numbers on the season. Keep in mind, he only played 2 games. 547 yards, 8.7 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns, no picks. When Goose Crowder's playing, even though this Troy offense is not good, when Goose Crowder's out there, I do believe in their passing attack. That being said, last week, Goose Crowder was injured. Well, he was a game-time decision. Turns out they put Kilcrease in there. By the way, Kilcrease was also a game-time decision. All kinds of injury question marks with this Troy quarterback situation. Kilcrease, the backup, got the start. They were throwing the ball in Texas State. 268 yards, 8.4 yards per attempt, 41.7% success rate per dropback. Now, Troy got killed in this game. They lost by 3 touchdowns, but they were supposed to get killed. I think they were catching like 12.5. That Texas State team is good. But what this game did show us is maybe we can have some faith in the Troy passing attack when Kilcrease plays as well. Obviously, we'd like to see Goose Crowder out there, but maybe we can have a little bit of faith in this Troy passing attack with Kilcrease as well. Still waiting for updates on Goose Crowder, by the way. I don't know if he's going to play. If you know anything about Goose Crowder's injury situation, drop it in the comments. Tracking college football injury reports is the hardest thing in the world. So if you have any information, drop it in the comments so we can take a look. Keep in mind, this is a Troy team that we were not expecting much from this year. They lost their entire coaching staff. They also got gutted in terms of players. Just 4 returning starters out of the 22 from last year. 2 on offense, 2 on defense. They were 129th in overall returning production. So the fact that they do have something that resembles a passing attack is impressive. Here's the good news for Troy. They're playing a South Alabama team that's actually in a similar position. Now, we haven't really noticed because South Alabama's offenses look really good, but this team also lost their coaching staff. Kane Womack's over on the Alabama staff now. Corey Batoon, their DC from last year, he's the DC over at Missouri. They also lost their coaching staff, and they also got gutted in terms of players. Just 7 returning starters, just 3 on defense. 6 of the 7 starters on South Alabama's defensive front last year are gone. Just 1 returning starter in the defensive front. So the good news for Troy offense is they're playing a defense that also is a brand new unit. And so far this season, it's been really tough to get a feel for the South Alabama defense. I didn't expect it to be good. That being said, there were a couple good showings in there. Week 4 against App State, they looked pretty good. The problem is, if you look at these game logs, the data points are everywhere. They played North Texas. They had a road game against LSU. On the road at Arkansas State, they got carved through the air. But on the road in App State, they look really good. The data points are everywhere. All kinds of different competitions, different conferences. Really tough to get a feel for this South Alabama defense. So what I did is I isolated South Alabama's defensive numbers against only their FBS opponents, and I took LSU out. So that's 4 games. Obviously, South Alabama's defense is going to get cooked on the road in LSU. Everyone is. So I didn't feel like that was a valid data point. So these are the defensive numbers in their 4 FBS games not named LSU. And this defensive front that lost 6 starters from last year, new defensive coordinator, is doing a great job against the run. 122.3 rushing yards allowed per game, 37.6 success rate per rush, 3.7 yards per carry, 2.66 line yards. I mean, this defensive front that I had no faith in this year looks really good against the run. Here's the thing, they're struggling against the pass. In those same 4 games, they're allowing over 315 passing yards per game. 56.2% success rate per dropback is really bad. 8.35 yards per pass attempt allowed. So this pass defense looks bad, and these are not against elite passing offenses either. Based on what we've seen from Troy so far this year, as long as Goose Crowder or even Kilcrease, even if Tucker Kilcrease ends up playing in this game, Troy should be able to throw the ball on South Alabama. And then check this out. South Alabama runs almost exclusively zone coverage. They're 7th in the country in zone coverage frequency. Troy's passing numbers, yes, we've seen multiple quarterbacks, significantly better against zone coverage. So again, I'm going to double down on this. If Goose Crowder plays, I like Troy to throw the ball on South Alabama. If Kilcrease plays, I still think they can throw the ball on South Alabama. But now we switch it over to the other side of the ball, and we talk about the South Alabama offense against the Trojan defense, and this is what we refer to as a mismatch. South Alabama, 28th in the country in yards per play, 5th in success rate, 7th in PPA. Rushing numbers look great. Passing numbers look great. Strength of schedule, yeah, I mean, they're still back at 70th in OFEI. Haven't really done it against a bunch of impressive defenses yet, but no question, Gio Lopez looks like the man. And check this out. This game's at home. They've only played 2 home games so far this year. They're averaging over 62 points per game. 62.5 points a game in their 2 home games. Yes, one of them was against Northwestern State, an FCS program. The other one was against North Texas. Okay, yeah, these are 2 bad defenses, but what do you think Troy is? 62.5 points per game, over 57% success rate, over 9 yards per play. So in their 2 home games, South Alabama's offense has looked like a video game, honestly. Quarterback Gio Lopez has he's exceeded everyone's expectations. Over 1,300 yards, 8.8 yards per pass attempt, 12 touchdowns, and a pick. He's also mobile. He's an athlete. 258 rushing yards, 6.3 yards per carry. So he's beating you in multiple ways. And as I mentioned before, this is most definitely not the Troy defense from last year. Last year, Troy had one of the best defenses in the Sun Belt Conference. This year, we've really yet to see them put out one good defensive performance against an FBS opponent. In their 5 FBS games, 31 points per game. They're allowing over 49% success rate, over 6.4 yards per play. They've been struggling defensively. And look at the opponents. Like, okay, Memphis, Iowa, Texas State is good, but Nevada, Louisiana, Monroe, this Troy defense looks bad. It's nothing like the Troy defense from last year. There's no need to even spend a ton of time talking about this matchup. There's not any numbers that's going to support Troy making stops here on the road against South Alabama's offense. I mean, they don't have a pass rush. 120th in the country in pressure rate, 118th in sack rate so far this season. Gio Lopez, when given a clean pocket, has been basically flawless this year. So yeah, I'm going to cut it off there. There's no reason to take any more time talking about this matchup. Nothing on paper indicates Troy can make stops on the road in South Alabama, but like I always say, college football is most definitely not played on paper, but South Alabama should run the score up a bit. So where does that leave me in terms of placing a bet? Well, this is a tough one because of the injury situation. We don't know if Goose Crowder is going to play. I can't find anything on his status. And also, Gio Lopez, the guy whose praises we were just singing, he's a little banged up. He almost didn't play last week against Arkansas State. So I don't know the status of either quarterback. I'm assuming because Gio Lopez ended up playing last week that he's going to play in this one. But not knowing the status of the quarterbacks makes this one tough. If both quarterbacks go, if Goose Crowder plays and Gio Lopez plays, I like the over. I can't lay the points with South Alabama because I think Goose Crowder can throw the ball on their defense. So I think this would get up and over 56.5. Obviously, I haven't bet this yet, waiting for injury updates. If you know anything about the status of these 2 quarterbacks, Goose Crowder, Gio Lopez, drop it in the comments so we can all feast on that info, because as of right now, I can't find anything. But if the quarterbacks play, over 56.5 next game. Conference USA up next. We got Kennesaw State on the road at Middle Tennessee. Looks like the Blue Raiders laying mostly 10. I do see a 9.5 out there, but pretty much mostly 10 across the board here. Total sitting at 50.5 or 51. depending on your sports book. So let's get into this matchup. The Kennesaw State offense against the Middle Tennessee defense. Look at this graphic. This is hilarious. This is just battle of trash here. Tennessee State, I mean, obviously, this is their first year in the FBS. We weren't expecting much from them. Offensively, this is still an FCS program, let's be honest. I mean, they are actually dead last in yards per play, dead last in success rate, and dead last in PPA as an offense this year. They're rated dead last in effective rush and dead last in effective pass. It's truly nuts. That being said, it doesn't really get much worse than Middle Tennessee defensively. I mean, they're 131st, 129th, and 133rd, 124th in DFEI. Not many matchups where you can count on Tennessee State to score some points. This actually might be one of them. Also, Kennesaw State coming off their best offensive game of the season. Last week against Jacksonville State, they got their asses beat, scored 24 points, 4.6 yards per play. And I know you're probably looking at this graphic saying, no, Kyle, you said their best offensive performance. No, this is their best offensive performance right here. 4.6 yards per play, 33.3% success rate. This is the best we've seen from Kennesaw State offense. So, I mean, maybe picking up some momentum as the season progresses. And conversely, we're seeing Middle Tennessee come off one of the worst defensive performances we've seen this year from any team. They got absolutely routed on the road at La Tech last week, and I should know better than anyone. I bet Middle Tennessee plus 4.5 and the money line in this one. They gave up 48 points, 51.4% success rate, 7.55 yards per play. Honestly, I watched every snap of the game, and these numbers don't even do it justice. It was worse than that. Louisiana Tech did literally whatever they wanted, and it's not like they played LSU. Played Louisiana Tech. FIU held Louisiana Tech to 10 points the previous game. So Middle Tennessee State, defensively, it's pretty bad. The thing is, I don't really know how to go about making a prediction on this side. I mean, we could point at the Middle Tennessee pass rush and be like, oh, they're not going to be able to get pressure on Davis Bryson. The thing is, does that even matter? I mean, look at his numbers on the year. 614 yards passing, 5.5 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Are we really worried about giving Davis Bryson a clean pocket? I mean, he might be the worst quarterback in college football when given a clean pocket. Look at these splits. I did read something indicating that Kennesaw State may make a quarterback change. But, I mean, I don't know who the backup is. If you have any information, drop it in the comments. I would imagine if Davis Bryson won the starting job and started in these first 5 games that he probably can't be that great. But I really don't know. I mean, it's tough to count on Kennesaw State to score some points, but it's almost just as tough to count on Middle Tennessee State to make some stops. Personally, I think Middle Tennessee is definitely a significant step up in class in terms of talent. So I think their defense will be able to put forth a decent effort and make some stops in this one. But let's flip it over to the other side and talk about the Middle Tennessee State offense. And this is where you can really find some value on the Blue Raiders. Obviously, you know, if you follow Conference USA football, passing attack, Nicholas Vadiato, that's by far the strength of this Middle Tennessee State team. In fact, I mean, it's the only aspect of Middle Tennessee State that's remotely decent. They're 35th in the FBS in yards per pass attempt, 100th in success rate per dropback, 71st in effective pass. 71st in effective pass is solid for Conference USA. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the conference. We have yet to see Kennesaw State have a successful defensive game against the pass against an FBS opponent. In their 4 FBS games, UTSA, Louisiana, San Jose State, Jacksonville State, they're allowing over 271 passing yards per game, over 49% success rate per dropback, over 0.8 yards per pass attempt. So they've really struggled to defend the pass. And this Middle Tennessee State offense with Nicholas Vadiato at quarterback can definitely throw the ball. I know they didn't look that great last week on the road to Louisiana Tech. 276 yards passing, just a 33.3% success rate per dropback is not good. 7.1 yards per pass attempt. But in the 3 games before that, we saw Vadiato throwing the ball. The 3 previous games were Western Kentucky, Duke, and Memphis. So it's not like they were playing scrubs. In those 3 games, Memphis averaged over 9.1 yards per pass attempt, 288.7 passing yards per game, 41.4% for success rate per dropback isn't great, but we know this Middle Tennessee State team can throw it, and based on what we've seen from Kennesaw State, I don't think there's a damn thing they could do to stop it. The strength of this Kennesaw State team is their run defense. That's probably the only aspect of Kennesaw State that can compete at the FBS level right now. We've actually seen 2 great performances from Kennesaw State's defense against the run. I think this was in weeks 1 and 3 against UTSA and San Jose State. They allowed just 69 rushing yards per game, 2.34 yards per carry. I mean, these were good performances here. We've also seen them get absolutely cooked on the ground in a couple of their other games. So it's not a good run defense, but it's certainly better than the rest of their team. Here's the problem with that. Middle Tennessee State doesn't run the ball. All they want to do is throw it with Vadiato. They're 13th in pass frequency in the country, so just not a good matchup for Kennesaw State. As far as placing a bet, I mean, I guess it would have to be Middle Tennessee State here. I'll grab that 9.5. Please bet responsibly. These games are crazy. I bet Middle Tennessee State last week, plus 4.5. They got smoked. So Middle Tennessee State minus 9.5 for me. Again, please bet responsibly. Next game. Sticking in Conference USA for the last game here, we got La Tech on the road. New Mexico State catching 10.5. I do see a couple 11s, though. Total sitting at 50.5 pretty much across the board. So let's get into this matchup, and we'll start with the La Tech offense. Sitting at 124th in OFEI, haven't shown much of a run game at all, just 112th in yards per carry, 107th in success rate, 110th in effective rush. But this is an offense that wants to throw the ball, and look at the bottom of this graphic. Granted, these numbers did take a huge jump after the beatdown they just delivered to Middle Tennessee the other night. But they're 40th in the country in yards per pass attempt, 114th in success rate per dropback, 64th in effective pass. Entering last week's game against Middle Tennessee, there were question marks at the quarterback position. Baker broke his collarbone. We didn't even know who was going to start. We didn't know if it was going to be Jack Turner or Bullock. Bullock got the start, and he went nuclear against Middle Tennessee. 18 of 25, 290 yards, 5 touchdowns, a 235.4 pass rating. He cooked all over Middle Tennessee's secondary. I don't think we should overreact to that because in the 2 games before that, the passing attack was struggling for La Tech versus Tulsa and FIU. Not exactly defensive powerhouses, just 207.5 passing yards per game, 30.4% success rate per dropback is not good. 6.25 yards per pass attempt. So although last week was a huge step forward for the La Tech passing attack, and obviously Bullock's going to be the guy moving forward, I still don't have a ton of faith in it. And I definitely don't like how La Tech's going on the road here on short rest and playing into the strength of the New Mexico State defense. Now, strength and New Mexico State defense might not belong in the same sentence this year, but they are significantly stronger against the pass than they are against the run. They're one of the worst run defenses in the country. 130th in yards per carry allowed, 117th in success rate per rush, 130th in effective rush. But against the pass, they've actually been somewhat formidable. 94th in effective pass is actually pretty decent for a Conference USA program. Now, their numbers against the pass may be a bit skewed from the Sam Houston game. They completely shut down Sam Houston State's passing attack, held them to just 102 passing yards in the game, 3.9 yards per attempt. But Sam Houston State, they just want to run the ball. They're 10th in run frequency. So, I mean, yeah, they shut down Sam Houston State's passing attack. They weren't even trying to throw it. That being said, in their other 4 FBS games, I know you see that 9.6 yards per pass attempt allowed, and that scares you a little bit. Success rate per dropback under 39% is pretty solid. And they played Fresno State, Jacksonville State, Liberty. It's not like they played nobodies. Again, I'm not saying this New Mexico State defense is good. I'm just saying they have shown us we can trust them a little bit against the pass. Their real problem this year has been stopping the run. In their 5 FBS games, they're allowing 6.28 yards per carry, success rate per rush over 48%, almost 300 rushing yards per game allowed. Their run defense has been terrible, but like I said earlier, this La Tech offense wants to throw the ball. They haven't shown us much of a run game at all. In their first 4 games, 79.5 rushing yards per game, just 2.45 yards per carry. So this Louisiana Tech offense, not exactly a unit that I'd expect to exploit a weak run defense. They don't have much of a run game. Now, to be fair to La Tech, they did get the run game going last week against Middle Tennessee, almost 5 yards a carry, success rate per rush over 47%. But I mean, they dominated every aspect of that game. I'm not going to look at this one game and be like, oh, La Tech can run the football now. It's just one game. We know Louisiana Tech does not have a strong rushing attack. So actually, despite New Mexico State being a pretty bad defense, I don't really love the matchup for Louisiana Tech offensively on the short week. But what about the other side? We got New Mexico State offensively, and they want to run the ball just like, well, not just like last year. Last year they were good at it. This year they're not. Diego Pavia is no longer there. But they're still 44th in rushing frequency this year. Obviously, we know this offense has really struggled this year, just 121st in OFEI, 129th in yards per play, 107th in success rate. But look at the rushing numbers. Not that bad. 70th in yards per carry, 46th in success rate per rush, 93rd in effective rush. Again, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's not that bad. Now, we can take a look at the quarterback situation for New Mexico State, but, I mean, it's an absolute crime scene. We don't even know who's playing quarterback. They started off with Parker Awad. They switched over to Marucci for a couple games. Now I think they're back over to Parker Awad. I think Awad got a starting job back. I mean, look at these two quarterbacks' numbers. Neither of them are a particularly good option. I will say the passing attack's been slightly better in their last two games. I mean, 6 yards per attempt, 166.5 passing yards per game. And you may be looking at this graphic thinking, Kyle, how is this better? These are terrible passing numbers in their last two games. Well, compared to the two games before that, it's actually pretty good. They were averaging 2.35 yards per pass attempt, 67.5 passing yards per game. So they had no passing attack whatsoever. In the last two games, they have a bad passing attack, and a bad passing attack is a dramatic improvement from what they had. Regardless, I don't expect New Mexico State to be throwing the ball much in this game, especially after what La Tech showed us last week. They gave the Middle Tennessee passing attack some problems. Middle Tennessee State has one of the better passing attacks in Conference USA, so La Tech held them to just 7.1 yards per attempt, 33.3% success rate per dropback. If La Tech can do that to Middle Tennessee, very little chance New Mexico State's going to be able to throw the ball. So I fully expect New Mexico State to stick to the run game here. Now, here's the problem with that. Louisiana Tech has elite numbers against the run this year. They're allowing just 3.03 yards per carry this season, just 95 rushing yards per game, 33% success rate per rush. They've played great defense against the run so far this year. But we definitely do need to take note that this New Mexico State run game seems to be coming around a little bit. First of all, their offensive line, it's not a great unit, but they have done a decent job creating space in the run game. They're 52nd in line yards, 41st in stuff rate, so that's solid. And look at their rushing numbers in their last two games against New Mexico and Jacksonville State. 6.38 yards per carry, 51.4% success rate per rush, over 245 rushing yards per game. So like I said, this New Mexico State run game seems to be coming around. You take these numbers and compare them to these numbers, their rushing numbers from the previous three games against Liberty, Fresno, and Sam Houston State. It's night and day difference. This team couldn't run the ball at all. Last two games, the run game seems to be showing up. And one thing we definitely do have to mention when we're talking about La Tech's run defense, I'm pulling this graphic up again. Elite numbers against the run, right? We covered that. Elite numbers against the run this year. But look at their schedule. They haven't played a single team that runs the ball. Nichols FCS program. NC State has no run game whatsoever this year. Tulsa, that offense is terrible. FIU, they throw the ball. Middle Tennessee, all they do is throw the ball. So they haven't played a single rushing attack yet. Again, I'm not trying to say this New Mexico State offense is good, but they do run the ball and they're diligent. They stick to the run. So it's a little bit of a different matchup for Louisiana Tech's defense on a short week, going on the road, playing their first offense that's just going to try to pound it between the tackles. I don't know. I don't necessarily love the matchup here for La Tech, which is why I am fading Sonny Cumbie here. It seems like the perfect sell high spot on this Louisiana Tech team. Yes, they look really good, and yes, they deserve credit, but on a short week against this New Mexico State team that actually I think matches up well with Louisiana Tech, a New Mexico State team that seems to be playing better football as the year progresses, they should not be laying more than double digits. So give me New Mexico State's been so bad, but give me the points. Give me the Aggies plus 11 here. I'm on New Mexico State taking the dog, fading Sonny Cumbie. If you want to see all the bets I have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on Open Bets. You'll see all mine as well as everyone else on the staff here. Also, if you sign up to Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. $150 cash and one of these trophies go to the winner every single week. So if you're interested, head over to the website and sign up. Live show, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We'll go through all the games, talk some playoff baseball. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a nice Tuesday night. Remember to bet responsibly. Talk to you later.